All right, everybody. Welcome into this month's episode of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. This is our official Lunch Hour Legal Marketing webinar. I'm Jared. This is Rachel.
Hi.
Everybody loves Rachel, right? Some people love me. So this is supposed to be Heidi Alexander, but she bagged on me. So here we are. I'm the Assistant Director and Senior Law Practice Advisor at LOMAP, as many of you know, where we provide law practice management consulting services to Massachusetts attorneys and people who ask us nicely. Either you're tuning in live here to the webinar or you're listening to our podcast via Legal Talk Network, the Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Podcast. Regardless of how you're listening, we're happy to have you here today. We're going to hear from Ruth Carter, whose head is 2 heads below mine, and she's going to be talking about getting clients through blogging. So among other things, she's going to be talking about the benefits of blogging, identifying an audience, selecting blog topics, promoting your blog, and everybody's favorite subject, how to blog ethically. People love legal ethics, right? It's like the best topic. So we're happy to have Ruth here today. She's an Arizona lawyer, a business lawyer, social media lawyer, and a flash mob lawyer. Can you count the number of flash mob lawyers you know on one hand? I can. And I can only use one finger. It's Ruth. So in addition to lawyering and such, she is a co-founder of Improv Arizona. She is a Trekkie, so ask her Star Trek questions. She's a singer and an insomniac. So lots of stuff there. She blogs at Nothing But the Ruth, and she also has a column at Attorney at Work, also called Nothing But the Ruth. So you can read her, you can find her online. I'll let Ruth talk a little bit about other ways that you can contact her, but we're very happy to have her today. We're excited for her program. And as always, feel free to ask questions via the chat function on Zoom if you're listening live, and those questions will be answered throughout the webinar. So I'm leaving it up to Ruth from here. You got nothing but the Ruth, so enjoy.
All right. Thank you so much, Jared and Rachel, for making this possible to do this webinar today. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in live and everyone who's tuning in after the fact. But please, if you do have questions throughout the presentation, put them in the chat window. This really is your hour to get your questions answered about blogging to get clients. And I'm here to tell you, my story about being a blogger. I've been blogging since 2010. A little bit more about me. I am currently affiliated with 2 law firms. Carter Law Firm is my solo shop that I started in 2012. And then in the beginning of this year, I teamed up with Venjuris Law Firm in Phoenix, and that's an IP boutique firm. So now all my speaking and writing is under Carter Law, and client work is under Venjuris. So I have this weird dual personality. I was awarded a legal rebelship in 2012 for my work in flash mob law. So that was from that photo is from my official legal rebel photo shoot out in front of the Maricopa County Courthouse, where there is no sign that says don't climb the horse, but if you climb the horse, security will come out and tell you to get down. Just saying. I'm wearing my Life is Blog Material t-shirt because that is what I believe. And that's kind of what I do as an attorney. I'm sitting in my office in Phoenix in my jeans and t-shirt because that's how I roll. I realize that my clients don't care what I'm wearing or where I'm sitting when I do their work as long as it gets done. And lucky for me, I almost never have to go to court, so I can work in whatever. What else? Along with being a blogger, slight correction to Jared, Nothing But the Ruth is my column at Attorney at Work. My personal blog is undeniableruth.com. And then Carter Law Firm has its own blog. The fastest way to access that one actually is geeklawfirm.com. I have that domain. On top of blogging every week, I have also written 3 books, as you can see on your screen. My first book was The Legal Side of Blogging, How Not to Get Sued, Fired, Arrested, or Killed. That photo is deceptive because it looks like that's paper book. It's actually only available as an ebook. I had one copy of a paper book printed so my mother could read it because she doesn't do ebooks. But that's on Amazon, and then that book led to a phone call from the ABA, which led to 2 more books. So then I wrote Flash Mob Law, the legal side of planning and participating in pillow fights, no pants rides, and other shenanigans. And then last year, the legal side of blogging for lawyers came out. So the legal side of blogging ebook is on Amazon. The other 2 books are available through Amazon and the ABA. Check both places because depending on your ABA memberships, ABA may be a cheaper place for you to get them. So enough shameless self-promotion. For those of you who are on already connected on social media, these are the main places you can find me. Jared basically read my bio off Twitter, where, yes, I am a singer, Trekkie, runner, and insomniac. Also on LinkedIn, Facebook, the law firm has a page, and on YouTube. On top of being a blogger, I am also a vlogger, and I put out a new video every week on YouTube. So that's kind of where I am on social. Sometimes people wonder, when do I work? Because I'm always online. But I promise you, you can do both. It is a challenge. It is a balancing act, but you can do it all. So there's that. Okay, so we are here today to talk about how to blog to get clients. This is a tool. It's not a one and done. And that's one thing I've had to think about when it comes to lawyer networking, lawyer promotions, is in the past, we would put up a website, or even before that, you would buy an ad and it would go out and you would kind of be done and just wait for the phone to ring. Whoa, that was fun. And so nowadays it's much more interactive, and you have to do this ongoing work to do online marketing. So what is a blog? It's part of your website. It's you can either have a standalone website or have it as part of your firm site. I've seen it work both ways depending on what you're doing. Professionally, Carter Law Firm has its own blog, and it just made the most sense to build that into my web presence there. When I started Carter Law Firm in January 2012, the first thing on my list was get your website up and going and get that blog going so that you can get web traffic in and people knowing who you are and what you do. And your regular website tells people, who are you, where are you, what are your practice areas, and then having a blog lets you expand on that and tell people, this is what I know, this is what matters within my practice areas, and so I can answer your questions based on what work I do. And then some. There are so many things you can do with your blog presence. I mentioned WordPress because that's what I use for both of my sites. Undeniable Ruth and Carter Law Firm are both WordPress-based sites. WordPress is blogging software, website software. It's easy. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not rocket science to learn. So if you have somebody else running your website and it's WordPress-based, have them sit down with you for an hour and show you how to do it, because you should be able to get into the backside of your site to add posts or add pages or make edits, and there are so many other widgets you can add in that will help you run your practice more efficiently. So I'm a huge fan of WordPress. I am not a spokesperson for WordPress. I just use it and like it. And then at the bottom of every slide with photos, you're going to see 2 things. On the left is the Creative Commons attribution for the photo. On the right is my Twitter handle, @RBCarter. If you are somebody who is on Twitter and you feel like tweeting me throughout the presentation, go right ahead. That is always welcome and appreciated. So that's kind of the basics, the nuts and bolts of what is a blog. It's a place for you to write articles for the benefit of your audience. And we will get into more about what that is. So I started blogging in 2012. That's when I started undeniableruth.com. I started it when I was a second-year law student, and it was just a platform for me to stand on my digital soapbox to talk about whatever turned me on or pissed me off that week, basically. And that site, I will admit, really doesn't have a theme. It really is like I'm talking about what matters in my life. So I will talk about doing flash mobs and going to events like Phoenix Comic-Con, which is where this image is from. What have I written about recently? I've gotten into modeling this summer. So what's that like to work with a photographer? I'm training for a half marathon. So I talk about training. I talk about yoga that I'm trying to do and sucking at. So, that's how I started as, a blogger. And I really had no idea what I was doing. When I started blogging, if you Googled my name, my site would be on page 2 of the Google results. But within a year, I think I was number 1 on page 1 or close to it. And I started out really slow. I think when I started my site, I was happy to get double-digit readership every day. When I put out a new post, it might hit 100, and I'd be like, woohoo, 100 hits. And it's grown from there, but it's definitely something that takes time and energy. But for those of you who are thinking, but I don't have time to do a blog. It's like, well, you have time for networking. You have time for Netflix. You have time for, whatever else is important to you. So, so I incorporate blogging into my, networking time. So started with Undeniable Ruth. Then I added Carter Law Firm's blog when I opened that firm. So I blog on Undeniable Ruth at least once a week, Carter Law Firm at least once a week. Over at Attorney at Work, I've been with them since 2011. I do a post for them once a month. And then I get invited to do guest posts, on a quasi-regular basis. So you can go to Carter Law's press site and see everywhere I've done. But sometimes I've done product reviews, and if there's a hot topic that I want to talk about, I've done like guest posts on like cyberbullying and how kids can protect themselves. And it's just fun. So, so I'm a pretty prolific blogger and writer. Remember this is your hour. So as you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, and Rachel is watching it and will let me know when questions come up. So, I have, I don't want to say I have nothing to hide, because that's true. I say my t-shirt says life is blog material for a reason. So if there is any question about anything related to blogging or online networking, feel free to throw it in the chat box. So we'll try to get through all of them today. And I purposely leave plenty of time at the end for questions. So one of the best pieces of advice, or it's not even advice, it was a rule my friend gave me when he set up Undeniable Ruth, was he said, I will not build this site for you unless you commit to blogging at least once a week for at least 2 years. And it may sound a little daunting, a 2-year commitment, but I was like, all right, I'm in. I feel like I have something to say, and that was the best way to build up that habit. So now I don't go a week without writing. So whether that's sometimes I can't go to bed at night till a post is written, or I'll spend an entire, like my Sunday afternoon oftentimes is spent blogging. Now that I have dictation software, I will often be sitting with my headset on and just, talking at my screen. And probably my coworkers, if they happen to walk by my office when I'm doing that, they may wonder why I'm talking to myself. So, so that's kind of my life as a blogger. I can't imagine my life without blogging, whether it's professionally for my clients or Undeniable Ruth for whatever's whatever's top of mind for me at that time. So let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of having a blog. People ask me all the time, how often should I write? How long should each post be? How do I know what to write about? Things like that. And this was actually so timely because when I joined Venjuris Law Firm this year, they have a site, they have a blog, but now they really want to get into like really committing to building out their blog presence. So I've actually like just gave like this part of my talk to them last week. So these are my rules of thumb that I was raised with in the social media world. For a blog post, 700 words or less. If you can make it 500 or less, even better. Yeah, I know as lawyers, we like to be verbose, but less is more in this situation. Avoid TLDR, what stands for too long, didn't read. So if somebody goes to your site and they see the headline and it looks interesting, but then there's just this wall of text, that may be a turn off, and they may be like, yeah, no. I just want like the 3-word answer. I don't want to read 1,000 words to get to it. So less is more. If you find yourself writing a post and you're running into that 700-word limit or surpassing it, that's a time to ask yourself, can I say this in fewer words? Or do I really have 2 posts? And it's okay to have a part 1, a part 2, or to take a topic and break it up into multiple posts. I was just at Content Marketing World in Ohio a couple weeks ago, and there were so many talks about like repurposing and reusing material. So you don't have to put it all out there in one go. If you can break it up into pieces which are more digestible for your audience, that might be the better way to go. And you might give them a reason to come back. You say, oh yeah, check out post 1, and at the bottom of post 1 it says, oh, if you want to know more about this or this ancillary topic, go over here to post number 2, and it keeps people on your site longer. And which, the longer people are engaged with you, that may mean that they're more likely to call you for help, or if nothing else, it'll hopefully raise your site up in the Google search results, which we all like that. With every post, you have to have a photograph. We are visual people, and don't have crappy photos. Do not use like the stock photos that came in Microsoft Words. I mean, I think the little bean people were cute. I thought they were cute in the 1990s. Don't use them now. And a lot of people think that they can just go to Google search and just use any image they find if they give an attribution. No, you can't. Well, you can, but we also call that copyright infringement. So where I go to get images for my site is creativecommons.org. You can access directly through creativecommons.org, or I will go through Flickr, Flickr, where people have made their photos available with Creative Commons licensing. Creative Commons means basically it's a license that comes with the photo that says, yes, you are allowed to use it if you follow these rules. So I always pull photos that come with the license to modify and commercialize. The license to modify lets me crop it because I have certain dimensions within my site that I have to work within, or sometimes I want to reverse the image, or I just want a portion of it. And then the license to commercialize lets me make money off of it. And I'm not naive. I don't sell anything directly through either of my websites, but they are part of my professional presence. So in my perspective, that is a commercial use. So I am going to avoid any issues, and that's why I only pull photos I can modify and commercialize. If there ever is an image that I really want to use, I just reach out to the photographer and say, I like your photo. May I please use it for XYZ reason? No one's ever said no. I just have to be in a position where I can be patient and wait for their response. So that's when I have, because often I'll admit, I will often like write a post on a Sunday and release it on Tuesday. So there's not a whole lot of wait time for me. So if there is a photo you really want to use, you may have to hold the post until you get that permission. But I've never had anybody say no. And then I do have a couple of photographers. Let me see if I can go back. Devin Christopher Adams is one of them, where I have permission to use anything he's taken of me as long as I give him an attribution. So yeah, I have 2 other photographers that I work with who also have a wide portfolio online, and I can use our stuff without having to ask. So that's been really handy too. So if you happen to have photographer friends, that's a good thing to do. And then in the last couple of years, videos become a good thing to add as well if there's something appropriate. So oftentimes I will record a batch of videos. I'll record like 8 videos over the course of a week and then release those on my YouTube channel once a week. Each of those videos can also be turned into a blog post. And so I can write a post, write 2-3 paragraphs about the topic, and then at the bottom of the post, add in the video. And so that way people can consume the information as they like it. And it's just another way to repurpose what you're already creating. Or if there is another video by somebody else on point that makes sense to embed, go right ahead. Or if you're talking about like a recent news story and there's the video from like an incident online, you can embed that and then talk about it. It's fantastic that basically every company now can be a media company with all the ways they can put out content. And that is a tip I've heard from Gary Vaynerchuk, who is a social media marketing thought leader. Highly recommend him. He says all the time, every company is a media company. So yeah, so always be putting out quality content. It's not just writing blog posts, it's writing quality blog posts. And then think about the needs of your audience. So I don't know about you all, but my audience is potential clients who are not lawyers for the most part. So if I speak in legalese, they will have no idea what I'm talking about. So I have to I have to translate things into English. That's actually why I wrote The Legal Side of Blogging, How Not to Get Sued, Fired, Arrested, or Killed in the first place, was to talk about the legalities of blogging in English and give black and white answers when they are available, which of course we all know in the legal world. Most of the time, there aren't black and white answers. It's all shades of gray, which is why we have jobs. So, but when you can explain why something's important or how a rule or a process works, that can be a valuable resource for your audience, and you will build up your rapport with them, and they will see you as someone they trust and think they know to a degree. And so when they need help and they want to pay money for their legal services, you will be top of mind and you will get that call. So but you have to speak in a language that they can understand, or else it's like, it would be like me trying to read a patent. I work with patent attorneys, but I don't do patent work. I am not an engineer. So I barely understand what they're saying when they're talking about their patent cases. So I try to think about that when I'm writing blog posts for my audiences. They didn't go to law school. They don't understand legalese. So don't use it whenever possible, or define what words mean. Like I told you, my friend said, release a blog post every week. Some people, and probably if you ask 10 different marketers about what's the right schedule to have for blogging, you will get 10 different answers. I say, figure out what's right for you. Find a schedule that you can stick to. I think at least once a week is a good start. And there is no excuse for not putting out a blog post. It doesn't matter if you're sick or if you have litigation or you're going on vacation. If you are somebody who has a schedule that does get commandeered by work or family or other obligations, that's fine. I totally understand that. But that means that you might be a person who should have a bank of blog posts on timeless topics. So if there's ever a week you can't write, you're like, I can't do it, I'm too busy, that you still have a post you can put out there. And that's actually when I was early on in my legal career, I was a blogger for another law firm. I wrote her DUI and personal injury posts every week. I wrote 6 posts total every week for her. And on top of that, we always tried to keep a bank of 6 posts. So in the event that something happened, that she wasn't reviewing posts fast enough for me to be able to release my new work, I still had a post in the bank that I could put out there for her. So something to think about for those of you who are exceptionally busy and are afraid to commit to posting once a week. And I have been a guest writer or a ghost writer for people in the past. I actually don't recommend doing that if you can avoid it. Write your own content, because your audience wants to connect with you, and people hire people, and so they are going to build a rapport with your online presence. And so if they think that you write in a certain way and then they meet you and you present yourself differently, that might be disconcerting. And if they refer to a blog post and you have no idea what they're talking about, that might be awkward. Um, so, yeah, blogging, I will say, in my experience, writing a blog post always takes longer than I think it will. Even if I know my topic forwards and backwards, I'm like, oh, I can knock this out in 20 minutes. Like, no, Ruth, you can't. You can sit down, pop on your headset, and put out your base content on paper in 20 minutes, but then you have to go back and edit it, and you want to add some tags, which that's the backside of posting a blog post. You can put little tags on it, so your post is more likely to come up when people search for phrases. You got to find a photo, I like to find interesting photos, because when I when I announce a new blog post on social media, it'll populate that photo. So you want something visually appealing that your audience will look at, and they're just scrolling through, like dog photos, babies, vacation, whoa, what is that weird photo of chupacabra? Why is that there? And if I have that on my blog post, they're like, oh, let's read that one. Whatever. People affiliate legal topics with being boring. So I don't think my work is boring, but sometimes I have to convince other people that I'm not. And let me tell you, being the lawyer named Ruth, when people hear that, people think, if all they know is I'm a lawyer named Ruth, they think I'm an old stuffy Jewish woman. So I have to combat that. And so part of my online presence is showing that lawyers are real, at least I'm a real person, and I put out content that's worth reading. So, so now I'm better about when I schedule time to write, that it's not 20 minutes, it's an hour. Or if I know that if I'm like writing when I'm like totally procrastinating and having writer's block about how to phrase something, it's like, all right, put it for the last thing of the night, and you can't go to bed till your post is written. So whether that takes you 1 hour or 3, fine. But put your butt in the chair, put your fingers on the keyboard, or put on your headset and crank out your post. And then it's always easy for us to write about, common topics for our, related to our practice areas, but also think about other things that can inspire a blog post. So think about your audience's schedule. So whether that is people who have kids and you're following a school schedule, or if you are, you're following an entrepreneur. For them, there may be like an ebb and flow where at the beginning of the year, they're like, oh, like they're gung-ho about their goals, and how can you help with that? And if you do DUI work, you may want to write things about the holidays, like on the drinking holidays, and how you want to use Uber or AAA's free towing service instead of driving, so you don't get a DUI on those holidays. If there are current events you can speak to. I remember, I did I think I did a video series about the Courtney Love Twitter trial. She was the first person to have a Twitter defamation case go all the way through trial. And so I was following that case and was talking about how I expected it to come out. And then when the ruling came down, how it came out and why it came out that way. It turned out my prediction was actually wrong. So I got to talk about that. If there's developments in your industries, that's the one of the easiest things to write about. As a intellectual property internet attorney, I follow the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and I subscribe to their newsletter. So when something important comes out from them, like the most recent fair use ruling in the Ninth Circuit, which is where Arizona is, I was like, oh, I'm writing a blog post about this ruling and why it's important. So it's not rocket science, and there are so many sources of information if you keep aware of it. And that's also why I'm so busy on Facebook and Twitter. I'm not just there to promote myself as a lawyer. Actually, that's probably one of the least common things I do. I'm just watching what's going on in the online community, in the world, and what are people talking about, and how can I contribute to that conversation as a lawyer in my practice areas. And so your community will give you your base and for your base information to build your online presence on. So it's fantastic. So I do, when I think about like my editorial calendar for the year, which I use that term loosely. Some people schedule like they know every week what they're going to blog about. I don't. But I do try to keep in mind where is the world in certain times of the year. So beginning of the year, you're dealing with people, they're gung-ho for new goals and things like that. And then the summertime, people go on vacation. So what does that mean for them? In the fall, like right now, like Q4, people are heading into the end of the year. And so what does that mean in terms of like making sure that those goals they set in January get done? How can you help with that? I'm thinking of things from a social media business perspective. There's a ton of social media conferences in the fall. So I keep an eye on what are like the keynote speakers saying at those events and that I can contribute to online and, add my commentary. So yeah, there are lots of ways you can tap into existing content and build on what's already out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel with every post. So, going on with that, how do you pick blog topics? I get a lot of people when they are thinking about starting a blog, they're afraid that they're going to run out of things to say. And the first thing I say is, who is your audience? And let me tell you, Google is not your audience. I had someone say that recently, and I understand his goal was, he's like, well, Google is my audience because I want my site to, get higher in the search results. And I was like, I get it. That's an end goal. That's a side effect. Your audience is who's actually going to read your stuff. I'm pretty sure the nerds at Google are not reading my posts. So some of my posts are pretty awesome and up their alley. But in general, they are not, people in Mountain View, California are not my audience. So who is your audience? Is it, if it's fellow lawyers, which some people are mainly seeking referrals from other lawyers, that may be a different perspective on how you present material versus prospective clients who are maybe Joe average, who don't have law degrees, who are just encountering a legal problem for the first time and freaking out. And how can you help them with that situation? Whether it's, I'm starting a business, I don't know what I'm doing, I just got in a car accident, my neighbor stole my flowers out of my garden. I think about those things. Who are those people who are knocking on your door for legal services or calling you up? That might be your audience. What are their questions? When you go to networking events and people hear what type of law you practice, like, what are the 5 most common questions that people ask you? There you go. That's your, those are all potential blog topics or blog series, depending on what they're asking you. So, people ask me about, using images online, using music, social media, trolling, how to start a business. All of that comes in. Those are the types of things I hear about all the time, especially when they hear that I'm a social media lawyer, or they hear that I'm a flash mob lawyer. Like, well, how do you not get in trouble? Or what about this? And why can you ride the light rail in your underpants and not get arrested? Okay, I've written blog posts about that multiple times. People love tips, tricks, resources, lists, like top 10 tips for, picking out a DUI lawyer, or, life hacks, or I think I did a blog post on like the 4 ways you can lay the smack down if someone steals your photo. Notice I speak in English. I use words like smackdown in blog posts. I swear in blog posts. I may swear on this webinar because that's what I do. Tips and tricks. People love that stuff. Life hacks. People love that stuff. I was told I could do a blog post about how I put a piece of black tape over the light on my phone this week, so that way I'm less distracted at work. So when my phone rings, it doesn't interrupt what I'm doing. So yeah, I did when a post that I did for Attorney at Work today, I mentioned youcanbook.me, which is my new scheduling app. So when anyone wants to schedule a call or a consultation, I just say, all right, here's my calendar, go book yourself. And not just so I don't have to do that whole back and forth thing. I did a blog post about that. So people love that stuff. Current events. When I wrote DUI posts, every time a celebrity got a DUI, no matter what state it was in, I would write a post about what happened and then what would likely happen had they gotten arrested in Arizona. So I mean that, and I basically like was spitting out almost the same post every time. It was just changing the name of the celebrity and what the situation was. But in terms of what happens to you if you get busted for DUI in Arizona, the penalty's the same, but people want to read it every time that a new celebrity gets arrested. So if you feel like you're spitting out the same material over and over again, that's okay, as long as every time you do it, you're providing value. People don't mind reading the same stuff over and over again, or hearing the same stuff over and over again. I can say that as a writer, and I can say that as a consumer of content. The people I follow most have like the same like 3 like themes that they're spinning every time, and I am happy to listen to that stuff over and over again. So and then it's okay if every time you write a post that you're actually not talking about the law. If you want to talk about other things that people in your firm are doing, people in my firm, a bunch of us ran a marathon or a half marathon this past January. We could have done a post about what that was like. One of my friends had a real estate blog, and then he had a heart attack. And he wrote a blog post about what it's like to be recovering from a heart attack. I'm not in the real estate market. I don't read real estate blog posts, but I read that post and I remembered that post. So if you have something to say, you can use your blog, even though you primarily use it professionally to talk about legal topics, to talk about human topics. So if you're lucky enough that your dog comes to work with you, it's okay to do a blog post about how awesome your dog is. And if you can include a video of them chewing on a bone or something like that, oh my God, people will eat that up. When people come to your office, they'll be like, oh my God, is your dog here? I want to meet him. Trust me, people love my dog more than they love me. And yes, she comes to work with me. Not today, but she does come to work with me. So I do put out content about her all the time because I love her. And because she comes to my office. So yeah. And then here's a secret. Watch your analytics for hot topics. You can actually see what people are searching for and getting to your site. So here's a screenshot from Carter Law Firm's website that I took a couple of days ago. And so if you look toward the bottom, it says this is a widget called Jetpack. I love it. You can add it to any WordPress site. So you can see for that day where people are getting to my site from. Those are the referrers, the top posts and pages. What are people looking at? And search engine terms. What are people searching for and getting to my site? So, and if I clicked on summaries, it'll actually bring up the option to look at the last 7 days, last 30 days, I think last quarter and all time, something like that. So actually at the end of every month, I go into the backside of my site, go into Jetpack, look up the search engine terms for the last 30 days. And one, it's hilarious. Oh my God, the fucked up shit people look for and end up on my site. Because I do a lot of stuff with like social media law and cyber harassment, I get a lot of questions about posting photos online. And I think the most hilarious one I saw was my husband posted our sex video on the internet. The first thought that crossed my mind was, why are you still married? But so I pull up No, what have people been searching for the last 30 days? And that's where I get my ideas for my videos, because now all my videos start with question of the day, which really my questions of the days are usually what are people searching for? Like what questions are they searching for and ending up on my site? Those are my videos. And then from that, I also look at which one of these topics, which of these questions are blog topics that I can embed that video into. So, you know, 2 birds, 1 stone from someone running a search on the internet. So that is where I'm going to get information or get ideas for what does my audience care about. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and that's working out just fine for me so far. So you can see that day I had 334 posts. The best day I had ever on my site, I got over 33,000 hits. Actually crashed my site that day. It was awesome. So, okay. Let's talk about finding your voice. I've been lucky. I've been blogging since 2010, been public speaking since 2009. So I've had time to develop my voice. So give yourself time to figure out, how do I speak? And if you think about who do you admire in the media, they all have a particular way that they present information. You think about Tim Gunn on Project Runway, who's very eloquent and speaks so well, and I could listen to him speak all day. You know, versus Jon Stewart versus President Obama. Each person has their cadence. This is your opportunity to find yours. And I will say, no matter how you present yourself, be authentic to you. So I'm a big geek who wears t-shirts and watches Star Trek and swears, and I'm not wearing shoes right now, and this is working for me. And my audience is primarily, you know, entrepreneurs, the social media world, the startup communities. And so this works for people. You need to figure out what works for you. And if that means that you are formal and eloquent and, you know, prim and proper, and that's just who you are, rock on with that. And if you're not, don't try to be somebody you're not. Don't be a character, be a person. In no matter what platform you are active on, be a person first. And then on top of that, provide value to your audience. Always be providing value. I mean, it's one thing to rant and rave, and sometimes that's entertainment, that's entertaining. But think about what else you can contribute to the conversation. Can you provide education, or as some people call it, edutainment, where it's educational and entertaining at once? You know, always be looking. Think of it like being at like a cocktail party where you have this opportunity to talk with people about topics, even when it's a topic that you have a certain level of expertise. You can present that information without being unapproachable. So, and it's okay to take on controversial topics. Those are often some of the best ones. That will definitely get eyes on you if you explain, you know, a controversial situation, or if something happens and you think it was wrong, or even if it's controversial and think they were right. It's okay. I'm just saying it's okay to take on controversial topics. I've been reminded that if everyone agrees with everything I write, I'm probably not pushing the envelope hard enough. And that's part of who I am, is that I do, you know, poke and will stand on my soapbox, and sometimes people don't like what I write, and I'm okay with that. And some people don't like that I swear, and that's okay. If you don't want to hire me, that's okay. There are some people who will say, I want to hire you because you swear. So there is an audience for you, is what I'm trying to say. And if you get into blogging, or you try to get into blogging and you just find that putting fingers to keyboard, it just isn't working for you, okay, maybe video is the right way to go for you. I mentioned him before, Gary Vaynerchuk. Love this guy. He has written books. He does write articles, but his main platform is video. He started in blogging, and he still does a regular video show. And that's where he's found his cadence, and that's where he connects best with his audience. So that's what he does. So if So figure out what your strengths are. It's okay to play around with multiple platforms, but figure out which one's right for you and commit to doing it. And always, always, always provide value to your audience. All right, let's talk about promoting your blog. Because yeah, it's great to put out posts, but if nobody knows that you write a blog, then you're not going to get traffic, or it's going to be harder to get traffic. So every time you write a post, share it with the world. Don't be a jerk about it, but don't be a digital billboard, but let people know, hey, this is available. I wrote this cool post. Go read it. So every time I write a post, usually everything goes out through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+. If there's something that may be of interest to a particular group or person or organization, send them a direct link. Earlier this summer, I did a PSA for teens and tweens in social media about think before you post. And after the post went out, I also sent a link to my contact over at Not My Kid, which is a anti-bullying organization, and a friend of mine who worked at a school. And a few months later, she sent that post out and through the school newsletter. So that was great. This couple weeks ago, we had, I don't know if for those of you who are on Facebook may have noticed that the Facebook disclaimer popped up again. Everyone was posting this stupid disclaimer on their Facebook pages about how Facebook doesn't have the right to use any of their photos, which, yeah, that disclaimer is total crap. The Facebook terms of service rule, not whatever you're posting on your own profile. So I had written a blog post about that in 2012. I reshared it out through my personal Facebook, the firm's Facebook, and then kicked it over to the social media club of Phoenix. I think one or two other places, and that post got, I think, 1,200 hits in 2 days. So that was a post I wrote 3 years ago. So yeah. So it's okay to be targeted with where you're sharing your stuff. If you have a newsletter, you may want to think about if there's like a theme in your newsletter. If you've written blog posts on that topic, you can include those links. But always respect your audience and your platform norms. So not every legal post I write ends up on my personal Facebook page because my friends and family don't care. But the people who follow Carter Law Firm on Facebook do. For those of you who dabble in Reddit, you will know that they are really strict about self-promotion. And that is, yeah, you don't want to post stuff just to get traffic to your site. They will come down hard on you for that. I have had that happen to me even when I thought I was doing it right. So if you screw up, don't worry. I've probably screwed up worse. But it would be like, don't go into a networking event and just start handing out your cards willy-nilly. Don't just blast on every platform, read my stuff. And if you're not actually conversing with people, you just kind of look like an ass. So yeah, be respectful of the platforms that you are on. And it's okay when you join a platform to just watch for a couple of weeks and learn those norms because each one kind of has their own rules. All right, so I just told you I brought back a post that I reshared out a post that got 1,200 hits in 2 days. One of the best things I love about blogging is a post is relevant as long as the topic is useful. People will search for the same stuff over and over again, and so you may have posts that you write today that will still be getting traffic years from now. So I told you about how I did the callback for my post about the Facebook disclaimers. The one that has surprised the heck out of me is I wrote a post in May 2012 called "When Can Someone Post Photos of You Online?" That post gets about 100 hits a day. It's had over 29,000 hits this year alone. That is a topic that is timeless. People are asking about photos all the time. They don't understand because they're in the photo that they don't have rights over it. It's a timeless topic. So at least so until the rules change, that post is going to still be getting hits. And I didn't think much of that post when I wrote it. I mean, I just thought another blog post. It's a great topic. I'll just write it. I didn't go into it thinking that this was going to be like my all-time most popular post, but that's what it is. So, a post can have a long life on your site, which is so great because you wrote it once, but if it's still getting traffic, that means you're still getting traffic. So yeah, that's one of the benefits of writing quality blog posts. Because if you're just putting out volume and it's crap, it's not going to be getting visitors, a week from now, let alone a year from now. But you put out quality, and you will. Okay, so how do you know your blog is working? Here's the deal. When it comes to blogging and all of these online activities, you are not going to get instant results. It's not a quick fix. So do not think that you're gonna like have massive traffic within a week or a month. Plan, and that's why my friend said 1 post a week for 2 years. It takes time to build up the organic results. So I say, keep an eye on that. Be thoughtful about what are your goals. When I started Carter Law Firm, it was I want to put out quality content that helps my audience. So I get half of my new clients nowadays because of my website. They ran a search on a topic related to their problem. They found me. They called me. That's where I'm getting half of my clients. The other half is, word of mouth and referrals. Think about what are your goals. Keep an eye on your metrics. I mean, search results aren't everything. Your traffic isn't everything. Your traffic helps, but it's about quality, not quantity. Oftentimes, if it's about getting business. And then, watch your analytics. Look at what topics are getting hits, and can you leverage that in your future posts about what types of writing is leading to the results you want, whether that's traffic, whether that's clients. But don't confuse results, traffic with clients, because the two don't always correlate. All right, now here are some bonuses. So I don't know about you, I get people emailing me for free advice all the time. The best way I like to respond is, hey, thanks to your email, I've written a post on this. Here's the link. If you still have questions, contact me again and set up a consultation. Here's my price. And so that way I'm giving them value, but not letting them have a ton of time. And then if they want to, invest money into a consultation, they will. But that way I feel like I'm still giving them, some help, but not every answer. And at the bottom of all my blog posts, I do say, if you want to chat with me more, connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, or here's my email address. So, and then I leverage my blog all the time through to show reporters, especially through Help a Reporter Out, HARO, that I know what I'm talking about and can provide value to them. This is how I get on TV. This is how I get interviewed with newspapers, magazines, requests for guest posts. Because I don't just say I do social media law. I can say I've spoken about, copyright, trademark, cyber harassment, and all this through my blog. I can show people what I know, not just telling them what I know. And then I do the same thing when I apply to speak at conferences. I can say I want to come talk about the legalities of Periscope for an online video live streaming. I can also point to, here's the post I've already written about this topic. So they can see that I know what I'm talking about, not that I just claim that I know what I'm talking about. So in case I haven't hammered it home enough, if you sound like a digital billboard on your site, you are doing it wrong. It should not be about, look at me, hire me, I'm so great. It's like, no, don't do that. Your blog and all your social media should exist to talk with people, not at them. So do not sound like an ad. That's also probably going to get you in problems with your ethics board. You always want to, because you don't want to sound like an advertisement. A blog should not be an ad for your site or for your firm. It should be providing resources and information, not shameless self-promotion. So along those lines, you should have a disclaimer on your site, in your sidebar, in your footer, that reminds people this is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, go hire somebody. And then be careful about, if you only blog about your own cases, that may come across, and if you're only talking about your wins, The only time I've seen someone get in trouble because of their blog, that's what they were doing. So I never talk about specific cases that I have. I may talk about the topics that my clients have, but never in such a way that the client or anybody else can tell who I'm talking about. So yeah. And then I included my favorite disclaimer from Unwashed Advocate, Eric Mayer, incredible attorney. I love his site. Yeah, you can read that on your own. Actually, for the blog, no, read on. Go look it up if you want to read it from the podcast. So, yeah, no, I feel like reading it. Actually, I can't because you guys are, the heads on the Zoom is blocking it. So you guys read on your own. All right. So I only have a couple minutes left. I want to leave a few minutes for questions. Rachel hasn't been like waving at me saying questions. So I hope I've been giving you inspiration, information about how to get started on your blog. But blogging is a journey. It's not an event. So jump into the process and commit to it and try it. And it's okay to try something and be like, no, that didn't work. But it's really about developing your cadence, connecting with your audience, and developing a new way to connect with people and show people how you can help them, whether that's clients, whether that's conferences, whether that's just someone who just needs a little bit of information and they don't need to hire a lawyer right now, but they might need to later. If they came to you once and got good information, if they actually need your services later, they're more likely to remember, oh yeah, Rachel was that awesome lawyer who had that great resource. I'm going to start with her. Maybe I can hire her, or she'll know who to refer me to. So I want to leave you with that. If you want some resources of who I look to for information and help for blogging and all things social media, these are some of the highlights. Gary Vaynerchuk, Peter Shankman, Jay Baer, Ari Kaplan, Kati Ghosh-Toshby, Erica Napolitano, Jonah Berger, and Attorney at Work. Disclaimer, I work for Attorney at Work, so I write for them once a month. But the other people who write for the site are amazing too. So all those people, they write books, they do blogs, they do videos, phenomenal people, phenomenal resources. If any of these guys are ever in town, like I drop everything and go. So that's how much I value them. Again, if you want to contact me, through social, I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Just Google Ruth Carter. You'll find me, and you'll find there's a costume designer with my name. So the two of us are battling it out for top billing on page 1, but that's where you'll find us. That's where you'll find me. And then you can also dial direct and contact me through Carter Law Firm or Venturis Law Firm. So that's all I have. I think I just hit the top of the hour, but I'm willing. So for those of you who have to go back to work, I understand. But if there's any questions, I am happy to sit here as long as it takes to go through them all.
Thank you so much, Ruth. We do have at least one question. And you kind of touched on this when you spoke about tracking, but Felicity has been blogging for 18 months. She has a niche practice, and her blog is addressed to those potential clients. But as far as she can tell, she's never picked up a new matter because of the blog. So she's looking for advice on avoiding getting discouraged when there seems to be no connection between the blog and getting new work. And I don't know if you maybe have benchmarks or small goals you can set, or even, at what point do you reevaluate?
So a couple of thoughts come to mind. The first thought that came to mind is Gary Vaynerchuk, one of my idols. He actually started in wine blogging or wine vlogging. He did a show 5 days a week for a year and a half before he got traction. So it can take a while. So don't give up before the miracle happens. But also, I would ask your audience, where are they getting their information? And are you positioning yourself where they will find you? So if there are online communities where they're active, are you active there too? I will say, like, a lot of my work involves working with photographers. I am a member of several online photography groups, and when I write a post related to them, I I post it to their subgroup as well as all my regular social sites. So are you positioning yourself where they are so that they know that you're writing for them? And then I would, you may, if you have a couple of clients in your niche area that you trust, you may want to ask them, is what I write, worthwhile to you? And ask them for that blatant feedback to see if the issue is that you're just not putting yourself where they will find you, or if what you're writing isn't what they need. Without looking at your site and without knowing your niche, I can't say for certain, but those are two things I would look at. But no, I mean, it takes a while to build up a following, especially when you're in, the smaller your niche, the fewer people that will need you. But the more you put out there, you will keep yourself top of mind when they need you, which that's a challenge for us. Not everyone needs a lawyer every day, but we want to be top of mind when they need us.
Good points. Lucas is, okay, so Lucas is concerned kind of about SEO in terms of getting better in Google results. He wants to know if your posts have to be referenced on other websites, and if that's kind of the main thing that you would look for, maybe what other metrics you might have in mind.
It's always great when someone refers to me through their site, but it's not a requirement. So I've never paid for SEO services, yet I seem to be holding my own on page one just fine. So yeah, and I think about a lot. One of the reasons why I look at what are my people searching for and ending up on my site, and I turn that into other blog posts, is because I know people are already searching for those topics. So, and I will include those phrases. So when I put the tags on my site, I'm not just saying my name, the firm name, the practice area. I also will include phrases like, posting photos on Facebook or something, if I'm doing a topic on that. So yeah, I try to speak directly to what people are searching for, and I think that is helping me. So if you're not already doing that, I recommend that, and having quality tags on your posts.
Let's see. So far, those are only 2 questions. If anyone has any more, get them in quickly before we let Ruth go. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A question on whether or not to enable comments on your blog posts.
I do. I do allow comments on my posts. So I have a good widget that filters out spam, so I rarely have issues with spam. I do have to approve comments, but that also forces me to review it, and I respond and approve at the same time. So yeah, I do. You will get people asking you for free advice. Like if you do a general post, they may say, here's my situation. Even though your disclaimer says, I don't give legal advice, I will respond with, thanks for your question. I can't give legal advice via the site, but here's some more general information. If you need specific help, you need to call a lawyer in your community, especially because a lot of the topics I talk about are state law based. So, and I've gotten emails from the UK and Africa, and I'm like, I don't know the laws where you live. I'm sorry. So, yeah, so I do enable comments. I think on one of my sites, like comments shut off after a week or two, because I was having a spam issue. But otherwise, yeah, comments are good. Dialogue is good. That also helps you avoid legal, ethical issues with the claim that your blog is an ad. It's like, nope, my blog is an interactive platform where people can converse about this topic. So,
very good.
Comments are good.
Awesome. All right, anyone else? It looks like most others have left the webinar, so.
Okay.
All right, well, if anyone has any remaining questions, obviously they now know where to find Ruth. And this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel, and obviously, Ruth, if you want to take it on yours.
Yep.
So thank you so much. That was super informative and very helpful and entertaining.
Yeah, my pleasure. I always strive to provide edutainment.
I like it. All right, so have a great day, everyone.
All right. Take care.